Chris, can you
Yep.
just give me 1 minute? I
Yeah.
just need to go and do something. I won't be a sec. Oh,
Oh, I love the pants.
oh, I know.
What
It's
a shot that is.
all business up top, PJs on the bottom. That's how I roll on a Sunday.
Oh, that's it. That's it. That's going at the start. G'day. This is the Two Beards Wrexham Podcast, your go-to for all things Wrexham AFC. Join us as we chat about the highs and lows of our favourite footy club. She'll be right, mate. G'day, beard brethren, Sheilas, fuckheads, and just all-round legends. Welcome to another week of the Two Beards Wrexham Podcast, the Aussie Wrexham Podcast, brought to you by Rousey. And I might need to just give a little shout to my guest host this week because Adrian is missing in action. So I decided to go on Temu and I searched up Adrian hosts, and this is what I ended up with. Ryan from Me, the Wife, and Wrexham Podcast, thank you for joining this week and being my guest host, mate.
It is not a problem. Do you know what? I quite like that. It was like being unveiled like some prize pig at a show. I quite like that. I can't help but think people are going to be a little disappointed that it's me, though. You sort of give it a nice big build up, and then they were like, oh, it's Ryan.
That's
You
right.
know, yeah.
You're from Temu, so hey, you know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm a slightly worse version of Adrian, but I'm here. So,
Yeah, and you got the hair on the wrong side of the head too.
yeah, I know. It's really disappointing that I was going to try and grow a beard because I think you asked me to do it a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, shall I go with a beard? And then I thought, nah, nah. I think you've got enough beard for both of us, mate. So
Sean would have killed you.
yeah,
Oh, but we are here for a week. We are back. We've had 2 weeks off because Adrian's had no internet at all. So we decided to take a little break. And sure enough, during that break, everything happens in bloody Wrexham. We are here sitting recording on Australia Day. So happy Australia Day to all the Aussies out there. But we got some Wrexham news to talk about, and that's what we're all about here. So I'm going to start it off with just before the Birmingham game. Good old Jimmy Mack, James McLean, decided that he was going to do himself a mischief and run himself off the road. So, you know what? The fact that he rocked up to that game the next day is either a testament of how badass this guy is, or B, a good advertisement for how safe Audi cars are. What do you
or
reckon?
just how stupid he is, maybe, or the fact that he has just gone. I am not listening to anyone. I'm playing in this game. So weirdly, it was just around the corner from where I work. It was literally
Oh,
sort of 2 minutes away from where I work. We got somebody drove past and said, just seen James McLean in a car crash. And we were like, oh, it's around the corner. And there's that part of me going, should I drive up there? Should I drive up there and just see if I can help him in some way? And I thought, no, what am I talking about? It's just absolutely stupid. But no, fair play to the guy. I know at the game, the Birmingham game, he just had loads of strapping on his arm. I knew that he cut his arm quite bad. People had said there was a lot of blood and all this sort of stuff. But I think he is just badass, isn't he, really? Let's
hey,
be honest. He's like car crash, whatever, move on, and play. Not just play, but he played really well on Thursday night as well, I thought. It was
I thought he
a few,
did. He
yeah, it's
divided
a few
some fans'
sticky
attention.
moments. Yeah,
Um,
it was a few sticky moments where I thought, oh, he was doing a bit too much. And I always wonder, because of all the shit that he got at the away game, whether in his head he's going, I'm putting on a performance today and I'm going to shut them up.
well, speaking of
And
that game, that was the Shrewsbury game, the one that we lost, which we will get
yeah,
into. But
yeah,
the I mean was that was just insane. And apparently some Shrewsbury fans are being taken to court over it. I heard rumors
yeah,
of people getting beaten up after the game, fights
yes.
taking place in the car park, and I just sit there and think, where the fuck was I when that was going on? Don't mind me a bit of a scrap. But I mean, look, Shrewsbury, which we will get into shortly, but I just want to touch base. So you're 2 minutes around the corner from where that accident happened.
Yeah.
Like, I've never understood how someone crashes by themselves. Like
Well,
they're trying.
weirdly, I'll tell you a little story. It's obviously it's been released that it was a single car accident, but when I got told about it, so someone I work with, their best mate drove past it, and they were almost there when it happened. And what they said was there was like a bit of a wagon that had gone too close to him, and he'd ended up sort of nudging the wagon and then going off the road. How true that is, I don't know, because every story that's come out after has been single car accident. So I'm not throwing out conspiracy theorists that there was some like Shrewsbury fan saw him and like rammed him off the road. But that's what I was told. But it's not. I mean, he's done well to crash where he's crashed because it's not a crash hotspot or anything like that. So I'm not 100% sure what's
And he
happened.
managed to roll a car that is insanely hard to roll.
Yeah, I know. So I don't know. I don't know how it's happened. I was all in for the fact there was another car involved because I know where it is, and I was like, oh, you can't crash there on your own. There must be something else going on. But the official line is it was just him, so we're gonna have to roll with that, aren't we?
Oh, well, we'll have to stick with that one. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, so much has happened. Um, we got a new winger as well. So speaking of
Uh,
James McLean and the new winger, Ryan Longman
mm,
has joined the club from Hull City.
mm.
Now, that's an interesting one. He can play in more than one position. He's quite versatile, apparently, but he's mainly been used as a winger. So, I
Which we
mean,
don't use.
my thought is that James McLean's about to get a 2 game ban. It's inevitable that's going to happen.
Yeah,
Maybe he's going to become as a replacement for those 2 games and then shift into a more attacking position, or James McLean will shift into a more attacking version. I mean, it's hard to understand what Parky's thinking is behind that, other than the fact that Ryan Longman's been a target for us before, and
yeah.
now we finally
I
got him.
don't get it. I don't get it as a signing. It doesn't make sense to me. And I've been quite vocal with everyone that I don't get it. I don't get it as a, we've signed a winger, we don't play with wingers. So, we play with wing backs and they're expected to defend. And someone who's an all-out winger, has probably not done a lot of defending in their career. On one side, we've got the league leading assister, and on the other side, we've got our captain. So, you're not really, neither of them are getting dropped out. Yeah, like you said, yeah, Jimmy's going to get a ban at some point, unless he turns into some angel over the next sort of few weeks, he is going to get a ban. But then what happens after the ban? And I always worry about wingers who come in and go, right now you're a wing back. And you're asking someone who hasn't defended for pretty much all of their career to now defend. And it's sort of like, I'm not sure that always works. The last winger we bought was Luke Bolton. And how's that panned out?
Now, is
So,
currently out injured at the moment, so
yeah, I mean,
sounds like a long-term injury.
I think so. It doesn't look great for him, but versatile. Maybe he is versatile. I did see, I did see a comment from a Hull fan, which I don't always take too serious because the team that players leave in, there might be a bit of sour grapes or whatever. But he put versatile question mark. He can't even play in the position that we signed him for, and I was like, oh. Okay, that's not the most glowing endorsement. I'm just hoping that he is able to play as some sort of attacking midfielder in the middle to sort of interchange with Elliot Lee sometimes. Last couple of seasons, Elliot Lee's been the player who's played the most minutes for us. And by the end of the season, he looks shagged all the time. He looks absolutely done in, and he just needs someone to take that strain. And if Parky's going to persist with this Elliot Lee sort of playing up front thing, I do feel we've got something missing in behind
Yeah, I don't
because
like it. I don't like it.
I hate it. I hate it, mate. It's horrible because it worked once and he's just stuck with it ever since. And I just don't think it works anymore. And
No.
we look poor.
Mm.
We really look poor at times. And
You're playing.
Shrewsbury,
I mean, I know Elliot Lee has spoken about him being a striker, and we all know about my love for Elliot Lee. But holy
yeah,
shit, he's not playing in the right position, and he's not effective in that position. He needs to be in that center attack. He
yeah. Well,
needs to be creating stuff.
look at Shrewsbury. He was. I
Mm.
forgot he was playing. I genuinely forgot he was playing until he took a corner that he hit straight out. That's when I remembered he was actually on the pitch because he didn't really do anything. And I'm not having a go at him necessarily, but
You better
it's
not
obviously
be.
a, but it's like it's obviously something in that system that's not working. And it's especially doesn't seem to be working for him because there's so many games where I've felt he's been anonymous.
Reckon we should go
And
back to a 3-5-2.
um, I like. What do you think about Matty James? Honestly, before I put my pennies worth in, and this does tie in. I'm not just going off on a tangent, but what do you think about Matty James?
Mm. Okay, so he's an ex. He spent a bit of time on loan to Coventry, so that's where I know him from. So a
Yeah.
little bit of a sentiment towards him. Um, when he's good, he's really good. Um, but I think he does have some blaring weaknesses
Mm,
that you do sort of see coming into when he plays. But he has actually, for most part, been very, very good. I like his passing. I just think he needs to be a bit more decisive. I think he's probably when Matty James is best is when he's confident. When that confidence comes through, that's when you see Matty James at his best. And when he's not, it's like a deer in headlights. So
yeah.
that's
I
my
think
personal opinion. But
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, the reason I asked the question is I've started to see a bit of a trend that when he's playing and he's in, um, I I, I think he's great. I do. I think he's really great, but I think he's very defensively minded. So because of that, I feel like he drags the midfield backwards a yard or two. And I feel that he looks backwards more than he looks forwards. And I get the whole, if there's nothing in front of you, you turn around, you go back and you reset and you build again. But there's been a lot of times where I feel that Matty goes backwards when there is an option to go forwards. And I think what that does is it sort of, like I say, it drags the whole team backwards a little bit. And I think it isolates the few players that you've got in front of that midfield, Elliot being one of them. And I think that's possibly why he's become so anonymous in a lot of games because we've got that extra yard or two difference between the midfield and the strikers slash attacking midfielders. I just feel like he goes missing in games, and I'm not pinning all that on Mike James. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like we look better and more progressive if Matty's out and we put Dobbo in the middle playing in that position on his own. I feel like he's more progressive. Look, I think they've all got a bit of a tendency to go backwards, but that's obviously something that comes out in training where you're going, right, okay, there's nothing in front of you. Let's come back, let's reset, let's give it to the defenders who can see the whole pitch and let's build again. But I just feel we're more progressive with Dobbo in the middle than we are. I like Dobbo in the middle. I like Rathbone, possibly one of the best signings that we've made for
he's making
years.
the
I think.
case for player of the year, I reckon.
He
He's
must be sick of
really
getting
good.
man of the match now. He must be getting bored of getting man of the match. My God, the amount of man of the matches he gets. But yeah, I miss Cannon. I
Hey,
really do. A lot of people's player of the season last season, and where is he? I mean, we
yeah.
barely see him.
Paul
Um,
Mullen used to get man of the match all the time, and well,
yeah.
let's just say he hasn't got one this year. So,
No, Paul's a
oh,
whole other conversation, isn't he?
that is a
Unfortunately.
whole nother conversation worth having at another point because it
Yeah.
just that one can go for days, mate. Days. It's
I think
just
you could.
fucked.
I think you could do a special, couldn't you? Just literally talking about Paul and what's going on at the moment
Just
because it's
waiting
just
for it
not
to
working for
happen,
him.
waiting for the flood of goals, and it's just not coming. Still not coming. You know, he
No,
scored real
I
quick
thought it
against
was on.
Birmingham and then didn't score again
Yeah,
for ages, then scored an absolute blinder and got got goal of the month for December.
yeah, yeah.
And then he's just not featured on the score sheet at all since then. So
I thought that was the one thing that was gonna that once he scored that goal on Boxing Day, and I was like, there we go. That's the thing that's gonna make him go puff his chest out and go, right, I'm back now. And I can do things like that. I can still do things like that. So let's go and do the simple stuff better. And it just doesn't. We're at now. We're over a month past that goal, and I think we're back to square one again.
yeah,
So
it's a
yeah,
tough one. I, I want
yeah,
to see him do well, but
yeah,
um, I think we all just want him to score goals and go back to his National League, League Two form.
yeah.
But I think, you know, League One is a different league altogether, and it is an extremely a hard league, and a lot of teams have their defenses real set. So maybe he's met his level, and he just needs to figure out a way of getting around it, which I reckon he will. But you know, how long do we wait? You know,
Yeah, that's always my question is every player's got ceiling, haven't they, for their talent? And maybe he's reached his. And maybe as Wrexham fans, we're just a bit blinded to realise that, maybe he's reached the level that as far as he can go. And that's such a horrible conversation to be having. Don't get me wrong, I'm not
Mm.
just throwing that out there like it's nothing.
Oh
That's
yeah,
that's difficult
it's
to
like
to
cutting
have
your
that.
nuts off. It feels like cutting your nuts off.
Yeah,
It's a tough one.
no, yeah,
Hey, oh dear, like, but that's a and then. But speaking of players, I mean, Jacob Mendy signed again. What? I didn't see that coming. Look,
no,
Mendy's a good player. Don't get me
yeah.
wrong, but he's hardly featured this year. He's just signed another contract. I mean, could the club be trying to do some business and try and get some money from him and have him for sale? Because he's got to be under contract to get money, right?
Yeah, it was slightly strange to me. I think in your head you've always got a small list of players that you sort of going, right, he's probably going, and you have maybe 4 or 5 players on that list. And as horrible as it is, I think he was probably one of them for a lot of people. And then when he re-signed, I love Jacob. I think he's a great lad, and he's done really really good stuff for us. But I just think there's a few people ahead of him at the moment, and his game time is going to be so limited, so limited. But then you sort of wonder about the whole, like you mentioned about McLean, he's going to get a ban at some point, when we were talking about Ryan Longman. But then Mendy's just re-signed, so if he does get a ban, I'm guessing Mendy would slot into that position over someone like Ryan Longman, who doesn't really play as a left wing back. I don't know.
Can't forget Sebastian Revan too, though.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And we've got him as well. And I don't know. We just seem so. I wouldn't say overstocked, but we're we're possibly at our limit for wing backs. We surely, and that's another thing that sort of shocked me about the Ryan Longman is like if we are planning on doing anything wing back esque with him, I mean, someone's got to go, surely. And I thought maybe being left footed, being on that side, maybe Jacob was the one that was going to, sort of wave goodbye and thanks very much. But then to sign another 18 months might be like you say, though. He's under contract. Someone wants to come in for him. We can demand a fee as opposed to letting his contract run down. I don't know. But how many teams are coming in for a player that isn't really playing?
It'll be a
And the
League
longer
Two
that,
team. It'll be
yeah,
a League
and the
Two
longer
team.
it goes on that he's not playing, that probably puts clubs off, not playing regular first team football. Do you want to sign someone who's not playing week in, week out? I don't know. Yeah, odd,
It's
odd. Yeah,
almost could be a case of maybe there's like a team in League Two or the National League that's just gonna pick off all the Wrexham players coming out of
maybe.
contract, and they're gonna put together Wrexham 2.0.
Yeah, yeah, maybe, maybe.
So you could have like your Ben Tozer, your Luke Young, Jacob Mendy, Anthony Ford. They all come back and form another team.
Imagine
That
that though.
that would be something else.
Yeah, yeah, that would be just to have an owner to have the balls and go, I'm just going to pick all them off. Literally all of them.
But it's an interesting one. And on more news as well, before we wrap up this little segment, the cop, it
Oh,
was announced that that everything is looking like it's going to be going ahead and planned for end of the season.
yeah.
And it's slightly different designs, but they haven't told us what the designs are going to look like. So I'm like everyone
Well,
else in the whole entire world, like just holding me nutsack and thinking, "Come on,
yeah.
show us what it looks like. Like, it's like a giant pair of tits. Like, show me something." But
I don't think it's going to look very different to the initial thing that we saw. I think all they've done is they've slightly tweaked the original design so to make sure that when they want to close them corners in to add another couple of thousand, it just makes it easier to be able to do that. I'm not in my head, I can't imagine much different from the initial one. The thing that confuses me the most about the cop, I keep thinking that the designs and everything have been submitted and we're just waiting for a decision, or that they've been approved. And then we seem to go round in this weird cycle where it comes back around and going, oh, we're due to submit the designs. I'm going, have we already done this? And I just get really confused about where we're at. But yeah, I think it's start of Feb that they're going to submit them. But yeah, I'm like you. I'm just interested to see how different it's going to look to the original drawings that we saw. And it will be weird for the temporary cop to go, because it was only scheduled to be there for a few months. And fast forward months and months and months, and it's still there. It's going to stay there till the end of the season. But it's going to be weird going back to a three-sided ground for a little bit,
the,
having
the
uh, having
Altrincham
having
have
had
a permanent temporary stand. What's the team that has a
yeah.
permanent temporary? It's
I,
Altrincham, is it?
Peterborough do, I'm sure. I tell you what, I went to Bristol for the Bristol Rovers game,
Ah,
and the Bristol Rovers, that's got a very temporary stand feel, but it's just got a permanent roof built over the top. But that feels like if you jump too much, you're going through it. So
mm.
yeah, very temporary feel to that one as well.
All right. Well, guys, we're going to just end the news segment and get into the nitty gritty of the games. We've got three games to talk about. We got to rip the band-aid off and talk about Shrewsbury, unfortunately, because we haven't recorded since then. But
Do we
hang
have to?
around to the end because I've got an interesting thing that I want to bring up. But we'll after this we will get stuck into some games. Let's do it. It's Rousey. It's Ryan from me, the wife and Wrexham. Let's do it after the break. Woo! So Ryan, mate, we got some games. Uh, did you
Do
go
we
to the
have to
Shrewsbury
talk
game?
about Shrewsbury?
Yeah.
Oh, do we have to talk about it? No, No, no. It
Oh,
was. I think it was one of our worst performances, wasn't it, of the season? It's
I
got to
think
be.
so.
Got to
I
be up
mean,
there.
there were moments there where it looked like we could do something. Of course, Scottish Viking Jesus, Stephen
Mm.
Fletcher comes out, starts the game, scores a goal. What more do you expect? I mean, that guy is just insane. He's 37 years old and he's our leading goal scorer. I
Yeah,
mean,
I know.
like, what the
It's
fuck?
it's crazy because I can't. I do worry sometimes that you're relying on a 37-year-old to sort of pull you out the shit all the time. And, with all due respect to him, he ain't going to be around for very long. And we need some sort of long-term plan when it comes to strikers, because if he
Mm,
gets to the end of the season, he goes, right, I'm hanging up my boots. We haven't got him there to pull us out of it anymore, and I very much feel like that's what he's done for us this season.
mm,
I don't think he's as effective when he starts. I don't. I think he's better coming on last half an hour, last 25 minutes, a tired defence, looking up, seeing him coming on. I think they're sinking a little bit, going, oh, how do we deal with him? And most of the time they can't. And I think that's where he's most effective. I did a big piece on our podcast when I was talking about he shouldn't be starting games. He starts the Shrewsbury game and he fucking scores, and then I was like, oh well, that's how much I know. But
Hey,
but it
hey,
was
all I'm going to say is he's 37. Cristiano Ronaldo's 39, turning
yeah,
40, and he's still
yeah,
playing.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Yeah, that is very true. That is very true. But yeah, Shrewsbury as a whole, it was, at the end of the day, it's a derby. They're just down the road,
Mm.
and Shrewsbury. Look, I don't like saying positive things about Shrewsbury, but
No, there's
the
nothing
one thing.
positive to say about them.
No,
They only show
no.
up for big games. They
Yes,
beat
they do.
Birmingham and they beat
Yeah.
us. And
Yes.
look, it's a derby, and I've always mentioned anything can happen in a derby. We
Yeah.
see it here as Aussies all the time when we have local derbies, especially with Freo and West Coast. Um, Anything can happen. Doesn't matter what place you are on the table, anything can
No.
happen. But
No. But
Shrewsbury, I mean, look, they're fast becoming, in my eyes, another fucking Chester. I
mm,
mean, the fact you only show up for big games and you want to beat the
mm,
big teams is bullshit. You're down the bottom of the ladder. You're in a relegation battle. You're on 21 points. There is 6 points between the relegation teams. They're all on 21 now, and the team outside of relegation. So it's going to be very hard for them to fight back. Yet you go and pull out performances like that against Birmingham and us. Like, what the fuck?
yeah, I mean, 30% of your points this season have come from the teams in the top three. I mean, how's that even work? You can't even. But I think the one thing about that game was their players were up for it. A lot, like you rightly say, maybe they do only turn up for the big games, but they were up for it, and it was embarrassing for me to see how up for it they were and how not up for it we were. I'm not talking about fans. Fans are always there and always do their bit to try and raise the team. But the players, you shouldn't have to get players up for a derby. They should be naturally wound up and ready to go in a
Mm.
derby. But they should be, they're professional footballers. They should be every game, but more so a derby. And they didn't look anywhere near up for that game at all. And that for me was the most disappointing thing. That they just it's not that they didn't look interested, they just didn't look fired up for it. Like
Yeah,
it,
it's
it,
like
it
they
was
were
just
operating at like 80%. And
yeah, it was
like there was
just
just
another
that
game.
edge missing, and you had the moment of brilliance from Stephen Fletcher, but then you had two absolutely what I call defensive mistakes.
Yeah,
And look, they were both on Owen O'Connell, and which
yeah,
we'll talk about in a bit because obviously he lost his spot in the game afterwards. But both of those mistakes, the first goal he slipped and let his defender free, and the second goal he completely lost his defender. Both of them are mistakes from Owen O'Connell. Had those mistakes not been made, it might have been a different story. You
Yeah.
don't know, but I mean, essentially, those two mistakes by the same player cost us that game. And it's just so frustrating when you come up against a side like Shrewsbury that you know you should be putting 3, 4 goals past
Yeah.
and, laying waste to them because they're quite frankly in a shambles. They still don't have a manager at the bottom of the table. Like, come on, we should be winning that. But yet they show up
Yeah.
for the big games and they want the big teams. And, I guess they've got nothing else to lose. So let's just show
It's
up for the
just
big games, eh?
it's just our away form again, though, and I have to remember, yeah, Owen made a couple of mistakes in that game, but it's not his own. He made a mistake against Barnsley as well, which resulted in them scoring. So I think him getting dropped, like you mentioned, was a long time coming. I do have a bit of an affinity with defenders, and always try and stand up from where I can. It has been difficult with a few of Owen's mistakes, and I don't like saying it because I think he's been one of our better players this season. I think he does get overlooked a lot, but I think the time was right, for after Shrewsbury for him to lose his place, and bring Dan in, and fair play to Dan. Dan waits patiently for his opportunities, and but when he gets them, he grabs them with both hands, and like you say, we'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, I'm just disappointed all round. I mentioned before, Elliot Lee just looks so missing. He just wasn't there for the Shrewsbury game, and it's just so worrying our away form. Where are we? I think we're like the 16th, best team
Mm.
for our away form. Home form, we're the best, and I just don't
Home
understand
form,
this.
we're the best of every single league.
Yeah, I
Every
know,
league,
and
we are the highest. And it's
yeah.
insane. Like, why can't we carry that form into an away game? Look, I get it. Away is a bit different with, you're in a hostile environment. You're not, you haven't got 13,000 fans screaming for you. So I know that has some sort of difference, but you still, Wrexham still have that base of passionate fans that go to these away games that make a hell of a lot of noise. So you can't really fault the fans. It's just got to be something else. And I think most of us podcasters are actually quite perplexed at what the actual issue is with our away form. And we're coming into a February where we have no game at the Kairos at all. Every single game is away. That worries me a little bit. It
Yeah,
worries.
it's just odd. I can't make sense of it. I've tried, and if we were the eighth best home record and we were the 15th best away, you could sort of go, okay, that's not a huge difference. We're worse away than we are at home. Who isn't? You'd sort of go, I can take that. But to be the best at home and be one of the worst away, it just makes no sense at all. And dropping points against people like Bristol Rovers, people like Shrewsbury, you go away from home and we can't find a way to turn these teams over away from home. I,
Funnily
I,
enough, Stevenage too was one of the games we lost, which we're going to be talking about
yeah,
very soon.
I, I
Um,
know, I know. So
but
I don't know. I'm lost. I am lost with it. It doesn't make any sense. And if only we could play every game at home, because I'm sure we'd go up. But
yeah,
but
but thankfully, even though we have gone away, we've got a lot more draws away than we have losses. So I guess
yeah,
fucking silver linings maybe a little bit, but it would be nice to just be putting away 3 points every week in a perfect world. But look, the Shrewsbury game, there was a lot of fire around that game. The fans are fucking atrocious, and I have no problems being on the public forum and saying that. Shrewsbury fans, fucking screw your head on right, because fuck me dead, you guys are dead shits. Like, we're like Collingwood fans over here, right? Collingwood, toothless, fucking just absolute deadbeats. When I saw what they were doing with James McLean on the pitch, I'm just like, if if you're at the point where you have to have a guy basically standing around looking like he's going to bear hug you just to protect you from projectiles, like you've got a problem.
Yeah.
Get your fans right. Seriously,
Yeah.
fuck me dead. So yeah, look, sure, there's some good Shrewsbury fans out there, but I reckon just that group of Shrewsbury fans that were chucking shit, numpty of the week. There we go.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I don't understand in this day and age how clubs still get away with behaving like that. And because to me, if your fans act in a certain way and they're throwing stuff at other players and they're risking hurting them players or whatever it might be, at the end of the day, the thing that we love is it's a game.
Mm.
Put it into context here. It is a game. Don't get me wrong, it is life and death, but it is a game. And to want to do something like that, it makes my mind boggle sometimes. And I don't understand. The only way to stop this is just such severe punishments. You go, right, okay, next 5 home games, that whole section, no one's allowed in. Well, you can just leave all of that empty. And you're not allowed to sell tickets for that section. And then after 5 games, the fans can come back. It happens again, it'll be 10 games. And then they can come back after that. Happens again, and we'll just close off that section for a whole season. And I just don't. I think if the FA take it seriously and put in proper punishments, then that's how you kill things like this. But
Mm.
just being so wishy-washy and giving clubs a £10,000 fine, so what? The clubs will go, oh, okay,
Yeah, I
that's
often
fine.
laugh when Wrexham get like a £5,000 fine.
Yeah,
You're
I
like,
know.
really?
Probably got that in, down the back of the sofa. Let's
Yeah.
be honest. It's just, it just seems stupid. I think you've got to start having proper punishments. I'm not talking about go crazy and for every little single thing, but when you're endangering the players that are on the pitch,
Mm.
surely that is a time when the FA have got to step in and go, look, this has got to stop. But
But
it
they've got
never seems.
they did it at Birmingham and they've done it with a few other teams this season as well. So they've got a problem. They've got a culture problem within the
Yeah.
club fan base. And
Maybe it's because they're shit.
yeah, they're shit. They're fucked.
They're just angry because they're shit.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't
They're,
know.
they're, like I said, they are the Collingwood version. If you guys want to look up, just go to Google and just put in your typical Collingwood fan and see what
Yeah.
comes up. And I guarantee
Okay.
you'll just be like, yeah, all right, I get it. But enough Shrewsbury. Birmingham happened. Now, this was great. This was on
Yeah.
at the Cosm. This was, we had obviously Rob there, who got evacuated from the Los Angeles fires, so he went to Cosm. It was pumping. That atmosphere was on, and I just knew like when I turned on that iFollow to watch the game, I just knew I had a feeling. I'm like, oh, we're in for a good game here because the crowd are in for it. First tale of two halves, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely tale of
Definitely.
two halves. But surprisingly enough, it one all win, 1 point gained. It would have been nice to have a win. It would have been nice to have another 5 minutes because I reckon we would have put one away. Um, but to be fair, that Rathbone goal, bit lucky,
Yeah.
bit lucky
De-
that one.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, Ollie fouls his man. Ollie comes in, fouls his man, takes his legs. And I thought, oh, that's a free kick. And then the play's still going on. I'm going, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, go on,
He
hit
puts
it
away
then.
Weldy
And then
instead.
yeah, yeah, I know. So yeah, definitely. I think there was occasions we rode our luck in that game, definitely. But I
Mm.
100% agree with what you say. When they put the board up at the end for 4 minutes, I was like, just make it 10 because it just felt like we could have done something if we'd have gone on. I mean, we might have played another
Yeah,
20 and it would
that's
still
that's
been one
that's when
all.
you need a goalkeeper just to go down and waste a bit of time,
Yeah,
just like
yeah,
just to try and buy some more time. But I
it,
think overall, it was an amazing performance by the Rep boys. The boys did well.
yeah,
We touched on it at the start of the podcast with James McLean coming on. Now, I have heard rumblings on other platforms about James McLean. Someone even said that we should replace James McLean with Jacob Mendy, which
no.
no. On behalf of all Australians, because it was an Australian that made that comment, I apologize.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
anyway, um, but to come off the back of what he went through the day before and rolling his car and to come on and put in the performance that he did,
yeah,
and he almost put one away as well.
yeah,
Let's
yeah,
not
yeah.
forget. And he's always getting himself into space. Have you noticed that? He just always seems to find space. I don't know if the defenders are just not paying attention to him, but he just always seems to find that space down the side. Because I
Yeah.
guess they're always thinking we're going to go to Barney, and it seems to be a thing lately that clubs seem to figure if we can shut down Barney, we tend to be a little bit weaker. So we found a way of combating that, but they're still trying to shut down Barney. But still, in the meantime, James McLean's in acres of space on the other side
Yeah,
all
I
the
do feel
time.
like that teams that we play just do sort of slide across a little bit to that left-hand side. I've seen teams double up on Barney before. I love seeing teams doubling up on Barney because as much as you know in that moment that you're not going to see as much of Barney during the game because they've got two men on him, that's not great. But you instantly know there's space somewhere else because they've committed two men over to the right. Yeah, James has got so much experience. He played in the Premier League, played in the Championship. He knows what to do and when to do it, and he does it really well. And yeah, he does find a lot of space. Um, I wish he had a little bit more pace, just a touch, because I think
He's
he
got the
likes going.
engine, just not the pace.
And I think just a little bit more, and you might see a lot more balls coming in. Beating his man, but he still beats his man really well. He likes going out around the outside and sort of whipping a ball in. He's got a decent cross on him. But yeah, I thought it was a good performance from Jimmy, especially with everything that he'd gone through. Sort of rolling his car. So yeah, I was really happy with Jimmy. But he wasn't the only one. There was so many good performances on
Mm.
Thursday night. So many good performances, and I thought weirdly, when we lost at Barnsley away, I thought that was one of our best halves of football, that second half, the whole season. Even though we didn't manage to sort of get any sort of result from that game, I thought we were superb. But I
Mm.
think Thursday night, the second half on Thursday night, that come really close to it, if not better. It was certainly one of our better halves of football
Yeah,
of the season,
yeah.
I
That
would
that
say.
second half was so gripping and exciting for especially for I guess for the international fans as well. It came across really good on the iFollow. Just how much we had pinned them back, and this is a Birmingham side that have spent over $30 million on their squad, and we haven't even had a sniff at that much. Maybe if
No,
we get Michael Smith, but that's a whole nother story. but, but yeah, I mean, you got teams like Huddersfield who's just posted a loss. They've gone out, spent big, and they just lost to Bolton.
yeah,
So, it goes to show that money doesn't always, turn into results. So
no,
you got it. And I've always said this, you cannot discount the togetherness of a team. If you have
no,
that
not at all.
togetherness, like that real core togetherness, that is worth more than a $20 million player.
Yeah, it is 100%. And I don't think I've seen a Wrexham team that I look at, like I look at this team now, that you genuinely believe they all actually like each other and they're all so together and they're all pulling in the same direction. And, they're just a group of players that I think they've really built something special,
Mm.
as a team. And players have gone and new players have come in. And at this moment in time, it hasn't really seemed to have disrupted that. I think that's one thing that Parky has done so well is create that sort of environment for players to sort of gel so well. And I think any new player coming in can almost hit the ground running when you've got a scenario like that. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ryan Longman in, and doing something, whatever position he's going to play in. I wouldn't be surprised to see him sort of straight in somewhere because I think the whole environment at the club makes it so
Mm.
easy for you to just walk into that team.
And speaking of that $20 million player, though, that $20 million player got schooled by our very own Max Clueth.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, he did. Yeah, he was great, Max, and I think we all know he's amazing anyway. But on
He put
Thursday
in,
night,
he really put it in to him. Like,
yeah, he did. He put in a real shift on Thursday, and he was up against, you know, a very good player. Let's not beat around the bush. He is very good. Last couple of games he hasn't been great, and he tailed off, and sort of Thursday night was a little bit similar. I think that made it slightly easier for Max,
mm,
but he is still. Jay Stanfield's still an amazing player to be playing in League One, even when he is slightly off it. And Max had to be concentrated through the whole game, and I couldn't fault him on Thursday night. I thought he was just superb, and everything about his performance was great. And I think
mm.
there's so many players that you looked at and you go, well, you could be man of the match. You could be man of the match. You could be man of the match. Our man of the match at the game and Sky's man of the match for the live coverage were different. And I think that sort of speaks volumes that it wasn't just one player who stood out on Thursday night. There was a lot. And I think,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, was it Dobson was the Sky man of the match,
yes,
and
yeah,
our
yeah,
man of the match was Rathbone. So,
yeah,
it goes to show you don't have to score a goal and get man of the match. I mean, who would have thought?
yeah. Yeah, yeah, I know,
So,
but Max was right up there. I thought Dan Scar was brilliant. And yeah, there was so many good performances. Barney was great, but Barney's always great. It's sort of, it's what you come to expect from Barney now, isn't it? It's sort of
absolutely.
like when Barney has an average game, you sort of look at him and go, well, that's a bit shit. But
What do you reckon he
it's
would be
because
worth on the market these days?
I
You can
don't
get a
know,
couple mil for him.
Yeah, I dare say you would 1.5, two maybe that but I wouldn't. If it was me and it was my choice, I wouldn't take 10 for him. Because I think he's definitely one of the ones that you build your squad around, even if you go up. There's lots of players that become fringe players if we go up.
Mm.
But I think people like Arthur, Barney, Max, they're the ones that you build your team around, and you try and slot other people in. A lot of the other players that we have now, if we were to go up, I think you need to be. I
You
think,
know what we should do?
yeah,
We should pull a Manchester City and sign him
yeah,
till 2034.
yeah. I know. Do really. These big contracts are mental. They are crazy. But yeah, I think
2034.
I know.
Fuck me
I
dead. I couldn't believe it when I saw that. And I was like, why don't we do that to our guys too? You just, none of these, oh yeah, to the end of, the 25-26 season. Nah, fucking, let's get them till the end 2034.
Got to be some sort of tax write-off and a reason why they're doing that, hasn't there? That you don't. I mean, I get the reasoning behind look, if he does decide he wants to leave in 2 years, he's still got 8 years left on his contract. We can literally get the maximum price that we can with him still having 8 years left on his contract. I understand that element, but you could still do, you could do a 6 year contract and still have the same impact when he's got
Yeah,
4 years left. You could do a 5 year contract and still get that impact when he's got 3 years left. So there must be some sort of dodgy tax write off with giving him a 10 year contract.
it's
There must
insane.
be.
Insane.
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah.
I literally fell out of my chair when I read that. I was like, well, hey, let's do that to some of us. Let's get Stephen Fletcher 2034. Let's get James McLean 2040, you know.
Yeah. 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 How to go bankrupt in
Yeah.
one easy step. Sign all your players that are just about to retire onto 10 year contracts. Yeah, let's get it done. Get it done.
But we bring it on. So it was a 1-1 draw. It was a 1 point gained. It was a good return to form and leads us into the Steves from Stevenage. The
Yes.
Steves. Got the
Yes.
Steves coming to Wrexham. Um, Now, I don't think this is going to be anything like what the first round was. Stevenage have only scored 3 goals away from home, but they do have a pretty good defensive record.
Best defensive record away from home in the league. Only
Oh,
conceded 8, and nobody is in single figures apart from them.
oh,
So,
okay. That's some good
yeah,
stats. That's some
yeah,
juicy stats. I like that. That's
yeah,
going to
I
make
know.
this a very interesting game. Um, but we just do. The big question is do the boys have the post game hangover from Birmingham because of how big that game was? We've seen plenty of teams, even Wrexham, do it before, where they have a really big game and then they go on the next week and they kind of just average. Does that happen in this one, or have the boys return to form? It's
Um,
going to be a tough one, man. Like I don't. I'm trying to think about this, and I just keep settling on a 1-0.
Yeah, it's exactly what I've gone for. Is 1-0 because they've got such a good defense. They've got Carl Piergiani, who used to be at Salford, and when we played them away from home, he completely bossed that whole defense. I think they've kept 7 clean sheets in 11 away games. They've kept more clean sheets than they've conceded in games. I think they've kept 13 out of 25 clean sheets this season. Look, I don't think the Stevenage games are that exciting away from home. They've only scored 3, but they've only conceded 8. I think you can almost a sensible betting man would go for a 0-0 in a game like this because you don't get many goals. The
0-0 will
hangover,
be two points lost for us if, in my
yeah,
opinion, if that happens.
100% it would,
Because
100%. And
you don't have the best home record of every single
yeah,
EFL club and go and pull off a 0-0 at home. I
yeah,
just think that maybe I'll go out on a limb here and say that the Stevenage guys, once they experience the Stoke Kairos, um, I just think that maybe that might give them enough jitters because clearly that happened against Birmingham somewhat. We were expecting more from Birmingham, especially in that second half, and they just didn't have an answer for us. So
yeah.
could that be just the crowd that comes into play? Will Stevenage be prepared for that? Because typically they come from a smaller ground, I think, from memory.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, definitely. I don't know. I just think they're so settled in their defensive unit. And the thing that worries me the most about the game, I think, is we like going out to wide areas and we like getting balls into the box. And when we played them away, they were very good at shutting that down. And
yeah,
when
but a
we
very
didn't,
narrow enclosed in pitch though that they're used to.
yes,
So they're not
that
going to
is
be used
true.
to that here.
No.
Uh,
But what worries me is when teams are able to shut down our main avenue for getting into the box, sometimes we look a little lost. and we don't look like we have a plan B or C or anything at all other than we're just going to keep banging our heads against the wall, doing the thing that we know works, even though it's not working today.
Mm.
And I think Stevenage will be very good, and they will frustrate us a lot. I don't think you're going to see a lot of attacking threat from Stevenage, but I think they are going to frustrate the life out of us. And my ideal scenario is get a goal in the first 15 minutes, and then that will force them to have to come out a little bit more and attack a little bit more, and hopefully that'll leave some space in behind.
So saying
And
that, then do you
that's
start Fletcher? Because he's the one
um,
that's been scoring our goals.
at
So,
what point the thing is though, at what point does Jack come back in? You
yeah.
know, they threw him in against Shrewsbury. He was on the bench against Birmingham and didn't get a kick. At what point do you bring him back? Is he ready to come back, or
So I actually had this discussion in our fuckheads Discord with Aaron because we were talking about obviously strikers and stuff, and I was of the viewpoint that the Shrewsbury game we were chasing,
yeah,
and we ended up bringing on four strikers to try and chase the
yeah,
game, and you know it wasn't. I think it wasn't at that point a very big risk to play Marriott. Whereas
yeah,
when you got
maybe,
a game like Birmingham that's so decisive and fast and intense, you don't bring on someone that's trying to build some form. I think he was on
yeah,
the bench in case we had to chase the game.
yeah,
'Cause that's why we had three strikers on the bench. I think we had Mullen, we had Fletcher, and we had Marriott on the bench.
yeah,
The three strikers on the bench. So maybe that was Parky's thinking, and we got it easing him, similar to the same way he did with Mullen.
yeah,
He eased him in. He's been off for a little while. He's coming, but coming back now. Maybe he plays a bit more of a part against against the Steves,
yeah.
but I think yeah, it could be a thing. Could be a thing. Maybe he gets back on the goal sheet and gets up and running again. That'd be good.
Be nice because you don't want to end up in a sort of scenario because you look at the way Mullen's come back, and I know Mullen had major back surgery, and it's obviously going to take him a while. But at the end of the day, Marriott did break his leg. Maybe not completely, as bad as it could have been, but he did. And I think you now worry about history repeating, don't you? And you're going, well, is he going to be the same? Is it, how long is it going to take him to get back up to speed? Is it going to take him a week? Is he going to be straight back? Is it going to a month, 2 months?
Well, he
Are we
was
going to
only
be sitting
back on
here?
the grass for 3 weeks
Yeah, yeah,
before he came on against Shrewsbury. He was only back on the
yeah.
grass for 3 weeks. Not enough time.
No,
So I have every faith that, Parky has a lot of faith in Marriott. I mean, we've just given him a contract extension as well with an option for another year.
yeah,
So we obviously have a lot of faith in Marriott moving forward, especially if we end up going into the championship next year. Um, I think that um, Marriott will probably take another probably 3 or 4 games
yeah, maybe.
to really get up to speed and to come back into it. But then again, you and I, we're both saying 1-0. I mean, geez, what if it's just an absolute washout and it's a 4-0 and everyone's having a bit of a goal party?
Yeah, look, it's got a potential to be that, I think, because like I say, if we can get something early, I think that changes the game. And I think, maybe they've got to chase a little bit more, and
Mm.
maybe that creates a bit more space. But if we're an hour in and it's still 0-0, and you're struggling to unpick their defense, where do you go from there?
Yeah.
What do you do? Because, like I say, I think that's my biggest concern from Wrexham. Certainly away from home, not so much at home, but away from home, I always worry that we just lack a little bit of ambition and we lack that plan B sometimes.
Mm.
Um, but at home we always seem to find a way to get it done. And I'm hoping Tuesday is no different to that.
Same. Well, that is it. We're both settling on a 1-0 against the Steves, coming to
Yeah.
the Stoke Kairos on Tuesday. That is 3:45 in the morning Perth time, or 6 o'clock Sydney, 6:45 Sydney time. So it's going to be an interesting one. I don't fancy getting up at 4 in the morning, but we'll see how it goes. So, guys, after this, I'm going to put Ryan in it. He doesn't know this discussion's going to come. So, you want to hang around now? We've discussed this. We've got some juicy stuff coming up. So, hang around after this. We will talk some shit and wrap things up. Fuck you, Shrewsbury. See you after the break. Woo! So I'm just going to put it straight, right? Let's tear the band-aid off on this one. Fuck the FA. Bunch of cunts. Seriously. Blocking Wrexham and I just this boils my blood because Wrexham had the perfect opportunity to do something for the FAW and to not just Wrexham as well. I mean, you got Newport, you got Swansea, all those, Cardiff, all these, Welsh clubs competing in a Welsh Cup for the rights to play in the Europa Conference. And sure enough, the good old English boffins at fucking FA decided to block that from happening. What a fucking piss that is. Seriously, like,
Were you surprised though
uh,
that they blocked it? Because I don't think I was. I
I'm
think
I'm ashamed to be born in England. To be fair,
I was expecting it. I thought it was coming. When the proposal came out, I wasn't. I think the thing that worried me about the whole thing was how many games we might end up having to play in a season. Carabao Cup, EFL Trophy, FA Cup, Welsh League Cup. If you did happen to qualify for Europe, then you got all your European games. That was a little bit of a worry, but we do very well at managing our players and in certain competitions. So wasn't a huge concern. But when it all came out, I thought, I've been to European games, in the past, not for many years, but I have, and it feels different, and it's really good, and it's really nice to have European football in Wrexham. I just never saw this getting off the ground. I
Mm.
just couldn't see it happening because I thought the opposition from the FA, with input from other English clubs, I just didn't think it was ever going to be positive, and I'd almost, a week after the story broke, I'd pretty much almost dismissed it in my head as ever really going to happen. I think
Still a bunch of
maybe,
cunts though.
yeah. Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I know.
I just
It would have been so nice to have European football back,
mm.
but
But what
it's
gets me is um I'll put a post edit thing in here. Optus Sport, which is an Australian conglomerate, they do that. The way they advertised it is no European football for Wrexham. That was their headline. Like, fuck Swansea and Cardiff in the
yeah,
championship. It's Wrexham, and I'm just like, come on, we're a League One club. I get it. We got the Hollywood owners, and it's a whole clickbait thing, but this is the whole reason why Wrexham aren't very popular
yeah,
among the other
I
fan
know.
bases is because of the fact that Wrexham get all the clicks and all the news and all that sort of shit. And I get why that pisses people off. I
Yeah.
mean, if I was an opposing team supporter and I was just seeing nothing but Wrexham, 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 yeah, I would get pissed off at that too. But it's not something that just affects Wrexham.
Yeah, I know. And the thing is, I hate whenever I see stories like that, I just sink a little bit going, oh, there's more shit flying our way then. Like as if it's us that are putting that story out.
Mm,
It's not us, it's all the media outlets out there. Like you say, it's just clickbait. It's
mm,
like when Wickham lost their manager. And they're going, oh, a huge promotion boost for Wrexham as Wickham Limited. And I was like, what about Huddersfield and all the teams that are like in and around us? It's not just us, but they use it, but they just throw our name out there, like, because they know people are going to get annoyed. They're going
mm.
to comment on it. And, that builds up, and then they're going to share it with their mates who are going, look at this. And Wrexham again. And it's like, and
Maybe,
yeah,
hey,
it
maybe the FA see it the same way, and maybe the FA just don't want Wrexham in European football, so they were like, no, we're keeping because hey, we're the cash cow, we're the
yeah.
lower league cash cow, well, us and Birmingham now,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
before that in the National League and League Two, we were the cash cows, like we were the big team. Um, maybe it's got something to do with that, but I was look, yeah, I think I share the same sentiment as you. I don't think I ever saw that getting off the ground, but part of me really hoped it would, because it would
yeah,
have been such a good thing just to, see Wrexham in the Europa Conference. You
yeah,
could have had
yeah.
Wrexham versus San Marino, and it would have been just amazing.
Yeah, it would have been. I would have liked it. I would have, and then having the option to go. Ooh, do you want to go to Latvia to watch Wrexham play away at wherever, or do you want to go here? And would we have gone? I would have tried and made every effort to get out and to go and experience football in another country. But like we said, I think it was dead before it started. If I'm perfectly honest, I couldn't see anyone outside of Wales thinking this was a good idea.
Actually, I got an interesting question from that. If you could watch football in any stadium in Europe,
Yeah.
what would it be?
What stadium? So I think it's
Actually,
got to be
let me caveat that by saying not in the UK, because
not.
everyone
Yeah,
will always say Wembley or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
No,
No.
let's expand our horizons here.
Okay, I'll put. Okay, I was going to say Coventry, but I won't say that anyway.
Oh, gosh.
No.
All right, it's back on the table. All right.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't have picked a British sort of stadium anyway. I've been to Wembley to watch Wrexham a few times. Been to Coventry, obviously, but no. I think for me, it's got to be one of the big two in Spain, maybe. So Barcelona, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? Or sort of like a Real Madrid. I think, but. I think for me, Dortmund as well. I think you've opened a can of worms here because as my brain ticks, I'm just literally going to spiel off every big European club. Bayern Munich. I do. So I used to play for Wrexham Youth, and we did a tour of Germany. And we played a couple of clubs in Germany. We weren't that far from Dortmund, and during the trip, we were supposed to go to a Dortmund game and for some reason I can't remember the reason why, but we didn't end up going. I think the game was called off or something like that. So I've always had this thought I do want to go back to watch a Dortmund game at some point because I felt like I got robbed of it when I was a kid. And they've got the safe standing as well, which increases their capacity by about 20,000, and it just looks mental there. And I think, but if we're talking mental, maybe something like Galatasaray in Turkey. That'd be good as well. There's just
Mm.
flares and fireworks going off everywhere. That looks
One of those
intense.
juicy derby games that they have over there would be really,
Yeah,
really good. I reckon Real Madrid would be awesome. I
yeah,
mean, especially in that fancy stadium that they've got. I mean,
yeah,
have you seen that? Actually, the turf goes into the ground.
Yeah, I
to
know.
maintain
It
it. Like
looks
that's
nuts.
insane.
One day, Chris, we'll have that at Wrexham. One day.
One
But
day, one day
talking
will
about
be.
that though, one question for you is because I know my point of view, but talking about stadium and stuff like that, and if we ever got to a point where we felt like the racecourse wasn't big enough or it wasn't working, how would you feel about us moving somewhere else? I know what my thoughts on that would be, but just interested
My
for someone
smart
like you.
My smart answer would be I'm not in Wrexham, so I have no right in saying, especially
Yeah,
being English born, I have no right in saying that. But look, I've experienced the Coventry days when Coventry were actually playing at St Andrews, you know,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
play because they didn't have a stadium to play, so they'd rent it off Birmingham. So I've seen those days, and especially with it was the London Bees or something that the leaseholder they defaulted on, and they got kicked out of that stadium. And it wasn't until Doug King came along and bought, the rights to the stadium and all that sort of stuff. Whole story behind that. Very, very similar. Like they've been through the shit. So, but, fuck, I even forgot where I was going with this. Oh, yeah. um, But that said, could Wrexham move temporarily into another stadium?
yeah.
Yeah,
And
maybe.
redevelop on the site. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I'd feel about it, to be honest. I think I've since I was old enough to go to games, it's been there,
Mm.
and the fact that it's the oldest international stadium in the world, I
But they have a
think
promise on the lease when they
they
turned
do.
over the WST that
Yeah,
Wrexham football will always be played at the Stoke Car Us. But then I think, well, if they're going to expand the stadium to be 25,000 seats, and they're going to connect the corners. They're probably going to make, I could see the Macron stand being kept. Um, Maybe the tech end might go and change. And the Mold Road stand, maybe that will get changed. I just think when they're doing those ones, especially the ones down the sides that carry the most,
yeah,
they're probably going to have to. I don't
yeah.
see any other way around it. How
No,
do you change a stand that big and lose possibly 5, 6, 7,000 people?
it's
You know,
awkward,
it's
isn't it?
yeah.
Because the obvious solution to it is you build a cop. You take everyone from the Wrexham Lager and you put them in the Cop, and then you knock the Wrexham Lager down, and then you rebuild that, and then you put everyone back in the Wrexham Lager, and then sell season tickets for the Cop, and then or you then knock down the tech end and then do the same sort of thing. We swap ends and they go in.
Mm.
It's just it's messy.
But the
You know,
Wrexham
it's
Lager stand has all the like the change rooms and everything. Like big that's a big
yeah.
change. Like
I
that's a big one.
think from what I've heard, I think the changing rooms and everything are going in the new cop, and the dugout is moving to my side of the ground over on
Ah,
Mold Road.
yeah.
That's what I've been told. Whether that is true or not, I don't know. Because I was also told 100% Sam Dalby was coming back, and he's not. So
Speaking of which,
yeah,
he
I
just
can't.
scored against the Rangers. He
Has
scored
he?
again tonight, 11 goals for the season for the Scottish Premier League,
Yeah.
and he's just gone and scored again. And as well, this will interest you. The dad bod, John Daddy Bodverson, scored 2 goals for Bert Albion in his first game.
Do you ever
Like,
wonder
what
that we? Do
the
you ever wonder
fuck?
that we were the problem?
It makes you think that way, doesn't it?
It does sometimes, doesn't it? Maybe, but I think it's so hard. They've thrown him in as a starter, and they put faith in him that he's go out there, perform, do you're going to play every game, and they've obviously had that conversation with him. Whereas when he come to us, we've that's not a conversation we've had, is it? That
Mm.
we've told him, look, you're going to play a bit part. You're going to come on for 10 minutes here, 20 minutes there. We might start you for 1 or 2 games, but generally you're just as backup. So I dare say the confidence of a striker that hears one conversation over the other is vastly different, and I think probably Burton have tickled his pickle a little bit more by telling him he's going to be playing a lot more and he's their number one man, and the confidence has obviously come
Well,
out and
I
he's
think Wrexham need to tickle more pickles, mate.
I would say so.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
I would get a tickling stick with multiple ends. I don't know what the fuck, right? Just yeah, just
Welcome to Two Beards. I
I
think I honestly think I don't know whether teams really shape up really defensive with us. I
maybe.
just there's
Maybe.
some games you watch and you see some of the goals that go in other games, and it's like, where's the defense from the other team? You know, they don't have six guys crowding the box. Where whenever we tend to go forward and push in,
Yeah.
they know we're coming in on the wings, so they crowd the box. Makes it a lot harder to score with a crowded box, that's for sure. Uh,
Yeah, it's not fair, is it?
no, fucking not fair at all. But anyway, we move on. We dust ourselves off and get ready for the Steves.
Yeah.
Um, guys, I hope you've really enjoyed this program today.
I have.
It's a bit of
I
a
have. That's the main thing, I think. As long as I've enjoyed myself, that is all that
I'll
matters.
renew my order on Temu then. There's look, I think to be fair, it's been great. We we love you guys and Two Beards and me, the wife and Wrexham have always been like that. So from day one, and it's been really good to have you actually come on as a guest host as well. I think that's been awesome. So
I've enjoyed it, Chris. I have. It's been really good. Thank you very much for inviting me on. I'll be honest. I wish it was Adrian, not because I don't want to be here, but it's two beards as you and Adrian. So I hope Adrian gets back soon. But I've really
you
enjoyed
will, and
myself.
you have two bald heads and beards. We might have to change
Yeah,
this logo.
yeah,
Because
yeah, definitely.
yeah, two bald heads and beards now. I've gone bald. I've decided
Yeah.
to embrace it, and you know, it makes like I was saying to you beforehand, it makes lighting very, very interesting.
I think you've got to show people the level that the lighting is a problem for you, Chris, in the same way that you
Well,
showed
like
me.
that. Oh dear. Well, just real quick, guys. Comment down below if you want to have any say. We will pick out comments every single week. Apologize that we've had 2 weeks off. Due to unforeseen circumstances. But if you want to become a fuckhead, which is our Patreon program, we do release early to our Patreon every single week. So it gives you early ad-free access for $5 a month. Plus, you get discounted merch. Plus, you get access to a fans-only Discord, and you get giveaways, access to giveaways in the chat. Which actually Ryan's won one of those giveaways before as well. So
I have, yeah.
he has, because he's one of us. He is one of us. So just a quick shout out on the fuckheads front, because we do give shout outs every single week. Starting with our executive producers, which is Mad Al, Not PC, Bryant, Welsh Techie, Sarah, and Anthony. Big massive shout out to you guys. You support the show. You help keep us going, and are helping us get to Wrexham at the same time. And also a big shout out to obviously Ryan, Steve, Chris, Vicente, another Ryan, Neb, Drew, Mark, Deandra, Anthony, John, Chris, Jake, Will, and Aaron. You guys, we love you. Thank you for being a part of the program and helping support us. And we look forward to more to come. That's for sure. So, Ryan, mate, you love it in there, don't you?
Yeah.
have a bit of
Yeah,
fun.
it's great. It's great. Honestly, I do love it. I
Have
do
you
love it.
ventured
Some
into my stoner dungeon?
yeah. I ventured in once or twice. Yeah,
Guilty pleasure.
no, I didn't stay for long, but I was.
Oh, lovely. Well, thank you for joining us, Ryan. Catch everything to do with them, Me, the Wife, and Wrexham, on YouTube. Me, the Wife, and Wrexham on X. You're on Threads
Yeah,
as well,
yeah. Apparently, yeah, yeah.
apparently. Yeah, and Instagram as well.
Shan does all that. X, Facebook, Threads, Blue Sky,
Oh,
all of the ones. Yeah.
what a good life you have.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Well, guys, thank you for joining us. I am your host, Rousey. That is Ryan. I am the Two Beards Wrexham Podcast. Thank you, and we'll see you next week. Bye.